I've lived 1,000 lives. I've piloted 1,000 souls. I've killed and fought and died just for another role.
This is the Happy Jacks RPG podcast, a roundtable discussion that's a mix of friendship, humor, unbridled enthusiasm, and tabletop RPG topics sent in from around the world.
Just for another role.
Hello, and welcome to season 33 of the Happy Jacks RPG podcast. This is episode 1 of season 33, so welcome. My name is Kimmy.
And my name is Bill.
And in tonight's episode, Stefan from Essen, which is in Germany, I love the rhyme, I appreciate that, asks how to devise physical challenges for players. Muddy Boots from New York City.
I like money boobs, though. I like where that was going.
Muddy Boobs.
NYC, baby.
Oh, yeah. Sends us a con report. And Steffi from Scotland has a new hobby. If you'd like to contribute a question or topic to the show, you can email us at happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. That's happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. Announcements. Welcome to season 33. We made it. Woohoo! And Game Days is coming up. We have another Game Days happening Saturday, January 13th. So there's already a game posted for it. There's a whole chat happening on the Discord. So if you want to see about that, that's our free gaming day. You get to sign up for games. You can run games. And you can do all that for free on our Discord at happyjacks.org/Discord. All right. I'm a little bit out of practice. It's been 2 whole weeks since I've had to do this.
I know. Woo, see, it's a couple weeks off. Everything goes out the window.
Everything's out the window. All right. Our indie designer of the month for December 2023 is Kurt Potts, friend of the show, him. You can find his games at kurtpotts.itch.io. I haven't enunciated, I guess, over the last 2 weeks at all. I'm
You're used to just like kid family talk.
Yeah,
it's all
like,
but
yeah.
everybody knows what you mean.
Exactly.
Yeah, you have to.
Totally.
Yeah.
You can find him on Twitter at Kurt Potts with 2 T's. That's KURTPOTTS. So he's one of the Kurt's with a K. And he's also part of Lighthearted Games with Katie. And you can find their games there at lighthearted.games. So this week we are talking about their namesake game, Lighthearted. So Lighthearted, welcome to the magical 80s dream world of Lighthearted. You are a prep, jock, geek, rebel, or outcast, like those kids from the Breakfast Club, except you're just about to start magical community college. Lighthearted is a complete tabletop role-playing game that uses the language of film and television to reimagine the coming-of-age stories popular in 80s teen movies like Weird Science and 16 Candles.
So that's when I was watching teen movies.
Yeah.
It was like that. So that's my, this is like old people games at this point, or timing. But
I get it.
they're tropes now. They're foundational films in our
absolutely.
cinema. So
but with a modern fantasy spin, it's set in an alternative 1980s with fantasy elements weaved in the most outlandish bits of 80s pop culture. It utilizes an original system, but draws inspiration from Savage Worlds and Powered by the Apocalypse games. The system focuses on the balance between character motivation and their emotional struggle at any given moment, helping to create both external and internal conflict within the game. And you can get it at lighthearted.games. There's a PDF available, and there's actually a print edition also that you can get through our friends at Gallant Knight Games, who are their publishers.
It's exceptional. It's a great game.
So good. It's so fun.
Things I love about it, I've played a bit. Color uses color
I love that.
for everything. So it's like this great system where kind of what color matches up to what emotions,
and that
pushes
affects
that.
your magic too.
Yeah, it affects your magic, which is really cool. I also love all the art because friend of the show, Minerva did all the artwork, and it is fantastic and completely draws you in. And I also like the fact that they chose to go with community college.
Yeah.
Right? Because I love Mass because it's high school and you're kind of dealing with like those challenges and issues at that age. But the community college is like, hey, I'm just old enough to start drinking, but I don't really, maybe I am. I'm close to it if I'm my 3rd year at community college, right? And so you kind of get that next layer up
Yeah.
of, going through and figuring out who you are in those coming of age stories. But yeah, it's really exceptional and it's really fun. And you can tell that they, it's a very personal project for them to try to figure out how to get across very emotion driven gameplay. Like even when you're doing combats, that kind of conflict resolution, it's still driven a lot by emotion. So it's really, really, really good system.
Yeah. So we love it. We've done some APs on it. If you look at happyjacks.org on our AP section, there's Lighthearted there. We love it. Yay, Kurt. We love Kurt's in general. We kind of collect Kurt's, but Kurt Potts is a great Kurt.
Great Kurt. And Katie.
Katie. No, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and both K's. Easy.
Yeah,
easy
there you
go. Yeah. And I get to play with them almost every week in my Strixhaven home game. Oh my God, they're fantastic players.
Oh yeah, amazing. All right. That's it?
Yeah.
Mailbag number 1.
Let's dive in.
Okay, you get to read this one because I did a lot of talking.
Salutations, Supervisor Kimmy and the story crafting sages.
Ooh.
In my years of playing RPGs, I have come to the realization that it is social dilemma, moral problems, political intrigue, and the horror or beauty, sometimes both at the same time, of the fantastical that make me happy in a story. As a player, I find this is fine. I can tolerate the cumbersome fights in Vampire or the ridiculously complicated duels in L5R. I can participate or be a spectator on events as I like, and am definitely able to see and acknowledge the glee in someone else's eye when a mini-map is rolled out, and his ability to move 2 squares more than anyone else comes into play. Alas, as a storyteller, I like to scratch that itch with those of my players that have created characters that are meant for physical feats. Indeed, by now, I have come to question my complacency with my position as a player, and would like to spice things up for my fellow players as well. But maybe due to my derelictions and preferences of the past, or due to me just being not imaginative enough, I find it hard to devise physical challenges that are at the same time interesting in more than one way. Aside from fights, instigated by various groups, with bystanders, terrain, and hostages, and chases, I have come to disasters and mitigating preventing them, and festivals rivalries, but I'm hoping for your creative input for more. Best regards, Stefan from Essen. P.S. Yes, I will keep with it, so snack to your heart's content on Sith Delicious. That's it. This is a great topic.
Yeah. I think it's something that's really overlooked a lot of times too, because so many like trad games are so focused on like combat, and a lot of like more like modern indie games are so focused on like emotional stuff. A lot of times like the physical challenges that are not combat get like kind of just ignored or skipped.
Yeah.
And just not part of the story.
Yeah, it's interesting. So in the aforementioned Strixhaven game I'm running, one of Katie's character has started her freshman year 1, by getting a scroll from basically her mentor, her advisor. And she's a super loner character, very horrible family upbringing and everything. And so Pavel, her mentor, has basically given her the scroll and said, you have to get someone from each college to help you open it. And it's the whole year for this scroll, as they figured out now, is all about like friendship and making like being able to work with people and not being this loner. And so I was like, I don't want it to just be, the first part was very social, and then there was a very mental part to it, which was they had puzzles they had to figure out, and I'm sending them like physical props or stuff through email. So they started that. I'm like, well, I want to have a physical challenge too, which is especially fun because they're all magic users at a magic school.
Yeah.
And the thing I do like about Strixhaven is that you don't have to be a mage. There's like fighters there and paladins, so there could be strength there, but none of these characters. And so they basically saw on a bridge about 60 or 70 feet down on a bridge, they see a waterproof casing that's been adhered to the pillars of the bridge. It's like, how are you going to get it? Well, they're only second level. They can't fly. They can maybe try to jump down and grab it and feather fall, maybe. That seems pretty risky.
Yeah.
Too far from mage hand. Like, I tried to be smart and make it so they had to all three work together to get down there, and it was a complete physical thing they had to do.
Yeah.
So they figured out, if we secure a rope and then run the rope over, then someone's going to have to go down on the rope, like 60 feet or 70 feet, and get this package.
Yeah.
And so they were really smart about it, and they figured like, okay, well, one who's going to go down on the rope, and that was a lot of RP that was super fun about that. And then it was like, well, somebody has to hold the rope to make sure it doesn't, they're kind of guiding it doesn't swing into anything or get frayed. And then someone's back where the rope is secured, like basically holding it. And so they went and got one of their dorm mates, which was great, who was really strong. And I said, great, well, that'll give whoever's doing that advantage, right? But then it was all about athletics rolls and sleight of hand and acrobatics. And so it was all physical traits they had to do to get past that puzzle, basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for me, the challenge was I want to design a physical puzzle, but one that isn't just brute strength, right? So even to tie the rope, they made a survival roll. Right. And which was really funny because I was like, well, you'll roll it and like it's going to tie no matter what. It's a knot. It's just how good is it? Yeah. And they didn't roll real good on that. So that was almost super dangerous. But I think that's the trick is to look at whatever the system is. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's D&D. So it's got its things. But if I was doing something in Traveler, it was like, I don't want it to be a fight. Right. I think the ones that really get commonly thought about are outlined in the email, right? Fights, chases. I think that festivals is a great one, right? Like, there's like physical feats you have to do to try to win prizes, or if you're having like a tourney, right? If it's a fantasy setting, is really cool.
Yeah, I think one thing. I mean, I think we all are really good about thinking about this, but we don't think about it often in like adventure games. We all think about it in heist games.
Right.
That's when we end up like all of us suddenly are like just overflowing with ideas when you have to like get into a casino on, the moon of blah, 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 and you have to get in. And I think that's always a great thing to draw inspiration from, even if you're not actually doing a heist, but like you kind of did the thing you just described was very heist-like. They had to work as a team. They had to, do these physical challenges to get something done. Which basically all heist is, unless you get caught and then it becomes a chase. But
or a fight.
Or
if it
fight.
goes real bad. Yeah.
So, but you can tie that in a lot of different ways. So if you think about if it was a heist, how would they get across this river or something like that? That can be really a way to get inspiration because you start thinking then in terms of teamwork and how they're going to solve puzzles working together. Like Ocean's 11, like none of them alone, like they all had to be there to do their specific jobs in order to pull off that job. So think of like break down your party and like what they're good at and then see, okay, how can I piece this together? Because I think that's the thing, like it's not fun if there's like a physical challenge if like only one of them can do it. Right. Unless you're doing some sort of cool competition like you mentioned. Like if there's like, the Little Town of Nowhere Olympics or whatever it is, like and each of them have their own event they have to do. Cool, that's fun. Everyone gets their spotlight moment. But otherwise you want to make sure that they're all kind of getting spotlights by working together.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's to me, the cool thing about like a festival or carnival type setting is commonly you're coming up with different really specific competitions that highlight this is a strength one. This is one that's about endurance. This is one that's about speed. This is one that's about, agility or dexterity, right? And then that gives usually amongst the way most parties, right, painting a broad brush, tend to get built. You have people that specialize in things. So they're like, oh, great. Oh, this is your event. Oh, no, this is your event. And everybody gets their spotlight moment to shine. It is, I think, when you're GMing, great to every now and then, be taking kind of all your players and laying them out and then seeing like, what are the things I can piece together?
Yeah.
Right, where they're going to do something either all at the same time or in a quick sequence, right? Where you're going to, because then you kind of get that quick pass the baton moment, right? Yeah. I just watched on Paramount Plus, I just watched the whole first season of the original Mission Impossible.
Oh, yeah.
And like they age kind of funny sometimes, and it's great because every country they deal with is made up, and they all have this same weird quasi-Europeanish accent that everyone sort of talks with.
The one I do for like every time I'm supposed to be Russian.
Right. Yeah. Not even as good as that. They're great. They're great though. But the thing is like, they have a 55-minute show and they basically come up with, here's an objective. How are we going to do it very heist-like, right?
Yeah.
But it's always some combination of intellectual and disguise
Yeah.
and physicality. And the last one I just watched, Eartha Kitt was in it, which is crazy. Like who they have on the show is crazy too.
Yeah.
And they bring her in because she has to go through this duct work
Oh,
in
yeah.
a building, right? So they need someone because no one on the team normally can do that. Like,
Yeah.
oh, that's why we brought her in. So that gave that specific character a chance to shine in that way. So I think that's the key thing. No matter what the construct is for what the physical challenges you're putting forth or how you're testing people with that is find a way where everybody gets their big moment, right? Where they're the linchpin
Yeah.
in that element of it. Is a big deal.
Yeah. For stuff like Traveler too, I love and sci-fi in general, which I've been running a lot of lately. I love challenges where it's like some sort of repair.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be if you're being chased, but it doesn't always have to be. Like, even if you're not being chased, if there's air leaking somewhere, like, oh, that's a timer right there without like the having to worry about anyone outside. So like okay, someone knows how to do it. Okay, but we need to lift up this thing, so someone has to, like, again, that element of teamwork to get a certain thing done. That's really important and like crucial to their survival, especially in space or getting the engine going again or whatever it is. That can lend to some really great teamwork, skill, and also like physical challenge scenes and moments and parts of a game that aren't combat or a chase and things like that.
Thinking of that too, another element you can do. I'm talking about Traveler made me think about the Yuma Station thing that Jason wanted to do, is that it was this concept of a long-term project where it's like, I want to eventually make this thing or get to this place or solve this like challenge, whatever that is, and breaking that down into segments. And then you're like, okay, so for this first part, you need to do this, and this is what that's going to require.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have that speed component to it, but you're letting it be something that's going to have a big payoff at the end of a lot of sessions.
Yeah.
Right. But then either that person has to come up with different ways to do it, or get other people to contribute,
Yeah.
or even bring in NPCs if none of the the team or the crew can do it. Is another interesting way to approach that, because I think a lot of the solutions we immediately think of are ones that happen real fast.
Yeah.
Like a chase or a fight or like, oh, it's gonna happen in a session, it's gonna happen in maybe like 10 minutes or something.
Yeah.
But having one where it's like, no, you're gonna get tested over the course of time is pretty neat, I think, and it gives you a big potential long-term payoff.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of see what's interesting to players too as you go along.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. That's a great idea. Yeah, because you incorporate so much stuff and it can change. Like, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, and you can also in that way, if you're breaking it down all the way through, you could even have it be where it's like, oh well, there was 8 things you did over the course of in the game 6 months, and you succeeded on 5 of them, and 2 of them you were, and one you like really messed up.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what does that mean at the end? Right. So you don't have just a fail state.
Yeah.
Right. At some point, it's like, yeah, it works. It works really well when it does this. It still has problems going downstairs. Maybe
Yeah.
you shouldn't try to use it inside of a building or whatever it is. Right.
Yeah.
And then that becomes then something that if a player wants to, then they could work on that even past when they've done that context. Like, man, I still gotta figure that thing out.
Yeah.
I think also if there's a big thing that they want to figure out, and like in your head as the GM, this is the situation you want them to run into, or the number they've got to hit, or whatever it is, right? Letting them take continued runs at it.
Yeah.
Because not doing it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh, you failed, it didn't blow anything up. You just didn't figure it out.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's without giving any spoilers, if you haven't, 'cause I'm thinking about Yuma Station again, right? There's a big thing they finally figure out about their ship. But they tried a bunch of times kind of unknowingly, and then they finally do it. And then it was like, oh, and they figured out why it happened, and they were like, oh, right. So it's even better if they kind of like if it's their idea, especially at the outset, like I'm going to try to make this thing happen. Okay, that's going to be super hard.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's important. I think something you touched on there is really like important. Like there can't just be a fail state. And I think that's true of all physical challenges. And I think that might be one of the things that is hard about them. Like everybody hates, like we joke all the time about like, oh, picking the lock on the door and, oh, you failed. So everyone just sits there while you try again. Like, and it just like brings everything to an absolute halt. So if you have these physical challenges in there, especially if it's like to get across a river or whatever it is, you have to have like branching plans for what can happen. It shouldn't just be, oh, it doesn't work. That's all. I hate that. It's
I
the
think
worst.
very rarely, right? If it's something where we have to lift this thing up to get to the other side of it. Well, we just physically can't lift it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you have to know there's another way in.
Yeah.
That they can find, right? But yeah, for example, if you're trying to cross a river and you miss some roll, it's like, okay, what happens? You get swept further down the river. It doesn't mean you still don't get across. Maybe you don't get across where you thought you were going to.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's really funny and it's very much a trope when it's like can't get through the door. Yeah. Right? Gonna try to open the door, can't get through. It's like, why is the door the hardest thing in this entire, but there's different ways to do that, right? Like if they try to pick the lock and they miss it, it's like, yeah, you get it open, but it takes you a long time and it's noisy. Yeah. Or, if time's important, make that a problem. If stealth is important, make that the problem. Yeah. Right? Just take the failure and make it a complication, not a just complete miss.
Yeah, tie it into the story. Like I love the idea of like you get washed, one of you suddenly it becomes a little bit of a rescue too, because someone like didn't quite make it swinging across the river. They're down and okay, now we have to grab them. So it doesn't just like hit a nothing, because that adds tension, that adds adventure, that adds risk, that adds excitement to your whole physical challenge, which is the whole point of it. So sometimes failures can be fun as long as they don't end in a dead end, because those suck. So that's the biggest thing I think while you're planning these things. And like I think one thing you mentioned too is like plan multiple ways for it to work. Like I know like you run a lot of like D&D and more trad games, so you actually like plan out sometimes.
I do. I may be the planniest of all the hosts.
Yeah, for now I think so.
But there's a reason I do that. Yeah. But yes. But
I'm not saying that's bad.
No, yeah. But I've come to acknowledge the fact that I'm the planniest.
That's totally fine. And we all have our own vibes on the way we do it, and especially when you're doing games like D&D or Traveler and stuff where there's so many more mechanics. If you're just doing stuff on the fly, you can break those things really easily if you're not like really like Mook was able to do that with GURPS. Like he could just like improv GURPS, which is amazing. But yeah, it takes a lot to do that well in a way that doesn't make certain mechanics in the game pointless. Right. And especially when players are, buying point buy stuff, and that's important. Yeah. So just acknowledging that planniness is not a negative thing. But in situations like that, you have to make sure that you don't come up with just one right answer. Yeah. There has to be multiple ones. If you're going to make something too heavy because you don't want just the strong person to like lift it up by themselves, make it so it's like if they work together they can do it, and and then if they roll badly, something happened, you slip or pull your knee or whatever, there's lots of things you can tie in there.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing too is every game has their mechanics for that, right? It's like you get a negative to your roll, you have a level of exhaustion or whatever it is, right? Yeah. Where it's like you can still achieve to some degree what you're trying to achieve, and get through that, or a complication comes up, or it's something that might not affect you until later. Yeah. Right? Or it's like, yes, you got through, but now you're slower because you pulled a muscle, right? You pulled a hamstring, and it's like, okay, I can do this, but now I can't do the next thing as well. Yeah. We have to come with another way to do that. Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, the planning thing, I came to realize is because I've been in long form campaigns, which is what I'm doing now. Yeah. Like I'm trying to tie a lot of stuff together. Yeah. And if I don't have an internal consistency, then when I improv, which I do more than my planningness would lead you to believe. No, I do it a lot. Yeah. But I have to know kind of where everything is. Yeah. So I know when I do this thing and it goes over here, I know like where it's going to happen with. Yeah. And I found that was the biggest thing, because like, God, our Eberron game, we just did episode 70,
Yeah.
which is crazy, and we're only on 20 in Strixhaven, but it's
Yeah.
like, and I'm trying to like tell a consistent story. So and sometimes I'm the only one who gets it, I feel, but when I drop a thing,
Yeah.
right, I want them to be like, oh my God, 30 sessions ago that got teased, and then 22 sessions ago, then 8 sessions, like, there has to be those moments for the payoff for it to make sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So that's why I do that. Plus, I don't know, I like it.
Yeah.
Right. I know a lot of GMs don't, and I can run Traveler or at this point D&D or probably anything that I know the system well. Just drop of a hat for a one shot or for 2 or 3 sessions. But I think anything that I'm running, no matter how even light or indie or however you want to think about it, the system is like, if I'm doing a lot of dense storytelling, like I have to plan it all out.
Yeah.
Then that's how I feel. That's my safety net to then improv over the top of stuff.
Yeah. I think that's more like story blocking and like consistency more than like the log weighs exactly this much though.
Yeah.
Like I think which is like the difference between like what we're talking about, like with overarching stories and like planning a specific physical challenge.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it should never be like I love what you were saying about like it makes them slower as they go through the dungeon or whatever it is. It's like it should never be they roll to lift the log, you can't lift it. Like that, give them something else. Like you feel like you could lift, like it's just a little bit too heavy. Like give them a little bit of information and some tidbits there.
Yeah.
So they think, oh, I could get someone else to help me, and that could, like, it's not, if you just say you can't lift it, they're like, oh, well, this is undoable then. It doesn't give them the carrot of like, hey, you can almost lift it.
Right. They don't, then the players don't think about, well, what can I do? How can I fix it if you just put the block up?
Yeah.
Like even the test on the bridge that I talked about, I did not, because I can't think of everything, right? And I was like, oh, right, of course, they live in a dorm. They could go get help. I did not even think of that. Not even in my mind when I wrote up the little test, right? Because I was like, I know what each person should do. I know the DCs they have to roll.
Yeah.
That's what I've got, right? And so they were like, we're going to go back and see if, and they named 3 really strong people in their dorms. I'm like, one of them is going to be there.
Yeah.
Like, I can't go like, oh, they're all, sorry, they all must be gone. So one of them was there.
Yeah, that would
and
be
so
ridiculous.
they grab Greta and they come back and then she's like, yeah, this is great. Let's go. Right. And I get to on the fly come up with goofy shit. And then, but I didn't then have the NPC who had the high level of strength do that part. I just told Katie, I said, okay, fear rolls with advantage.
Yeah.
Because you've got somebody helping you.
Yeah.
Right. Like that was really smart, you guys. You gave yourself advantage. Okay, great. And then they rolled really bad on the knot. And I was like, well, it would make a lot of sense for that knot to like if they were higher level, it would have fallen off when Kurt's character was suspended.
Yeah.
Right. Just would have slipped. And I was like, but then he's probably going to die. So I don't want to do that. Because so they finish the whole thing. He makes his rolls to get back up. And then right as he stands up on the railing of the bridge, like, whoop, the rope comes off and he starts to like back a little bit. But Adam Familiar was there. Yeah. It was a little bird and kind of pushes his back. And it's like a funny little, very in those characters moments. Yeah. Right. But it was like, okay, we addressed everything that happened, all the good rolls, all the bad rolls, all the smart stuff characters did. And to me, any of those things that come up is like, as the GM, like our responsibility is to pay off players being smart. Yeah. We're like, I'm going to get help at the dorms. Okay, I've got to give them something for that. That's a really smart idea. Yeah. Right? So pay that off, right? And so if they come up against a challenge and they're like, well, we tried this and it doesn't work, give them something to figure out with it, right? Let them be smart. Yeah. And I think Rose in chat is bringing up masks and a couple things. I think it's really easy to get kind of in the weeds with like D&D as a great example of this because we're so used to like challenges, like what we're talking about, like the door and things like that. But like this happened, like physical challenges like this can happen in masks too. Not every challenge in mask that you present as the GM or the storyteller should be a combat necessarily. Yeah. Like especially as superheroes, like okay, a volcano's erupting somewhere and you need to stop it and like save the town, but you also have to kind of balance out. Okay, this is like the ecological like
of this region, like this is supposed to happen. Like volcanoes are supposed to erupt, like the ecology of the island or wherever it is, but like also depends on that. So you can't just completely stop it from erupting. So like adding like challenges like that where it's like they're having to balance out like not like stopping something but not stopping it all the way, like saving people as much as possible with something that's not necessarily a villain. I think those physical challenges can actually be really great in games that like Masks that maybe don't have like you don't have to worry about the strength roll and stuff like that. But if you're rolling to unleash your power and you're trying to like you're in an ice superhero and you're trying to like just do it exactly the right amount and like not completely screwed up and you're a teenager and the other superhero you have a crush on is also helping and they're like over there saving people and you want to look cool, like oops, I just froze the entire volcano,
Right.
Oh, this island's ecology is boned unless we find a way to save it. Like, so I feel like there's like a lot of cool stuff there where you can tie in these concepts and these ideas into all types of games. It's not just traditional games where you're having to do specific skill rolls.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and we're cheating and reading what Rose is writing in the chat room, and it's really interesting. I mean, being a designer as well, I'm always systems driven, so the mechanics are interesting to me.
Yeah.
But I think people that have played with me and hopefully have played in games I run also know that I am very much about player choice and like going with narrative.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, the number in a crunchy trad game like D&D, we will go numerous sessions without anybody picking up dice or anybody thinking about like what's a roll or like looking for skills or abilities on there because it's more about the role playing and stuff. And for me, the challenge is in how I try to blend those two, right? Where the mechanics, like the players are not subservient to the mechanics.
Right, absolutely.
Right? They're really important. And look, anybody who plays, not anybody, many people who play D&D, right, like the fact that they get in there with the numbers and are like, hey, look at this cool combo I came up with, or this different thing, because that's something that draws them to it, right? But fortunately, anybody that I play with, either in my campaigns that I'm playing with streaming or whatever right now, like are very RP driven.
Yeah.
Right. So people are there for emotional choices and, like not really worried about like, here's my cool combo that I'm doing. Right. Though,
That's
again,
so important though.
Yeah.
Like if you're playing those systems and like I play like every couple years I get my itch to play D&D again. And when you're playing those systems, like that matters. Like we're playing Wild Talents right now in one of the APs. Like that's a pretty crunchy system. And while like it's a very emotional game, like it's a point by system. So you put points in all the things, you spend things. So it's like you want all those mechanics to work correctly. So it's not an if like an this or that. It's not like, oh, it's a crunchy system with like where we want to pay attention to how the nuance of how all these things work together, or RP. Like they're all role playing games, especially the way our group tends to run them. So it's like paying attention to the balance of these techniques can be done in like rules light systems, like quote rules light systems, or in crunchy systems because it's good GMing tactics. Like these ideas of how can I challenge my players, get them to work together, build camaraderie in a way that's not just fighting things all the time, because that gets old no matter what.
Yeah, I think for me in crunchy games, right, which the crunchy thing I'm playing right now is D&D, right, is that all of the system stuff, especially when players are doing it when I'm GMing or I'm thinking about something to do with my characters, it for me is like a big puzzle.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not about like, oh, here's the mechanics I need to do. I just don't think about it that way. It's more like, what's the interesting thing I'm trying to have happen? What's the puzzle I'm trying to find the solution for?
Yeah.
And there's something that in one of my games, one of my players wants to do. And I'm like, that's totally cool. I want to support you. That is an amazing story thing you want to do. Right? So I've said like, yeah, I'm going to make it happen. And now it is a big puzzle for me to figure out how to make it happen, knowing the mechanics, right? Because the thing that is the interesting challenge for me in that is looking at what can all those players do? What do I think they'll do to stop the situation from happening that the player actually wants to have happen, but not have it feel like I'm putting them on a railroad, right? So I find that fun. right?
Yeah.
I totally get that there are many people that don't find that fun, right? But I also as equally find it fun to be like all just completely like, very less rules intensive, right? Rules light, however you want to think about it. Types of systems like PBTA systems, like masks, like, just like, this is great. I'm just doing this stuff. And then at some point, I guess there is a mechanic that becomes involved. I guess some dice are gonna hit the table, but that's not really what it's about.
Yeah.
I ran Monster of the Week during the height of COVID, and I'd never run a PBTA game, and it was like, wow, this is so fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great time.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like I was doing it that differently. I just didn't.
Yeah.
Every now and then I have to go like, you probably have to make an insight check. Like, it's just like, that happens.
Isn't that? Yeah.
And candidly, half the time I forget to do that in crunchy games. Like, we just roll past it.
Yeah.
I've had players like, should I roll something for that? Oh yeah, I guess you should. You probably, right. We have dice. Yeah, I guess let's do that.
I did that with Unsung Tales all the time. Like, it was just like into the story and talking about elves being amazing and beautiful. And then someone was like, okay, I want to do this. Oh, that sounds great. Should I roll something? Yeah, absolutely. You should do that.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. I can't just say, just tell me the story of what you're doing right now.
That's right.
But yeah. All right. That was a
Fantastic
great
email.
discussion.
Thank you,
So
Stefan.
good. See, sometimes the shorter emails even can like just have like so much discussion.
Yeah, shorter emails.
I mean, it's like half a page. It's not a lot.
No, that's a fantastic. That is downright terse compared to where we are about to venture.
Let us go. All right. Mailbag number 2. Hello to the entire Happy Jacks crew, especially those present. It's been a long year, and I'm too tired to write up a pithy greeting or typeset a Mad Lib intro. So I'm going to go with a big hello. I love the regular episodes, but I really, really, really love the convention episodes. This is so much fun to see, audibly, everyone with soot on their faces, pie in their hair, their hats askew or missing. Hearing the description of the games and even Jim's con report, as it's all just so much fun. I've been gaming for decades, and the last con I attended was Gen Con East 2.
Wow.
That was 1982. Wow. That event was like one of Stu's stories, and I'll only tell it in person with beer. After your last con report, I decided I was going to do it. I have no idea. I have got... that's what it says on the email. That wasn't just me.
Yeah.
I said it. I said it very convincingly.
Yeah.
I said like.
By the way, if at any point you need to tag team over, this is Gibeon in length.
It's long.
Folks,
Yeah.
So
I will definitely
up.
tag out.
Buckle up.
Yeah, and we can pause at points and discuss things.
All right. Good.
Okay. I got on the net and searched around NYC for a gaming convention. I didn't find any TTRPG conventions in town, but after a few frustrating days, I discovered 2 options I could get to easily by commuter rail. They were both on dates where I could wrestle free from my production schedule. I worried about the logistics and timing of a couple days, and my partner finally told me, dude, it's real life. Buy a badge. If something comes up, you made a donation to support the industry. Cashing that reality check, I bought my badge, did a happy dance, and put it on the calendar and mentally logged a couple months from now, and then promptly forgot about it. Life happened. Shows loaded on, shows loaded out, and a couple months turned to a couple weeks, and an email came in, and I signed up for some stuff and forgot about it. My partner asked me if I'd bought my train tickets, which of course I hadn't. I checked. I could buy them online at the station or on the train, so no problem there. I got busy and some family things happened. A couple weeks went by. So, are you ready for the con? My partner asked, and I said, holy crap, I'm going to a con in 44 hours. Moment to start planning. All right, tag.
I did a map study on Google Earth. I measured the ground distance I'd have to walk from the train station. I compared it to known distances in my neighborhood. I walked them in real life to check timing. I printed a map. I went to the grocery store for snacks and protein bars. I checked the weather report. I printed my schedule. I chose clothes. I started packing bags. I went into full planning and prep mode. The night before, my partner asked me if I was ready, and was I excited? I told her, I am totally ready. But are you excited, she asked. I said something that sounded like a breathless 5-year-old on a pixie stick bender who just got to ride the Batmobile. Yes, I was excited. Following my usual cycle, I looked at
the best description. I'm sorry.
It is great. It's
like,
amazing.
Props to that.
Following my usual cycle, I looked at my overstuffed day pack and shoulder bag and had a personal internal staff meeting. Dude, you were going to a major hotel by train for 1 day of meetings. You are not going to Antarctica for the winter. I dumped everything on the floor and repacked for a day trip. I ended up with a half-full day pack. Now I was really ready. I ran into town, did my show, and listened to RPG podcasts on the subway ride home to get in the right brain space. I made myself sleep, used several points in professional skill, sleep, and critted on the roll. At 6 a.m., I rolled out of bed and autopiloted myself through an early start, also using professional skill, wake halfway through commute. On Friday, November 3rd, a few minutes after 8, I walked into the lobby of the Morristown, New Jersey Hyatt Regency and right up to the badge pickup for Metatopia. I was attending my first con in 4 decades. This is a con report.
Okay, Metatopia is like my dream con. I missed it this year. I was so upset. It is like the goal of all like indie RPG designers. Like that is the game you go to sit down. You never know who's going to be at your table. Some other famous indie designer will probably sit down and like that was my goal. And we could have gamed together, but I'm sorry that my life just did not allow me to go this year. I'm going next year for sure. Yeah. And so this random con you found randomly online is actually a really amazing con. So good job.
And as explained in the email, in case anybody doesn't know what Metatopia is, I'll explain. This is great. Metatopia is the game designers playtest convention. People take their board, LARP, or RPG games in development and present them for testing and brainstorming. I think of it as the backwards con, because at most cons, you buy your badge and you get points or something for each game you run towards a discount on a free badge. At Metatopia, you pay more to be a presenter.
Yeah.
And if you just want to go as a player, it's only $20 for 4 days.
Yeah.
You will also be in high demand. Designers want you to try and break their game. There are also a ton of panel discussions and roundtables about gaming topics.
Yeah.
Registration was fast and easy. Con policy this year was masked and vaxxed, and there was no room for discussion.
I love that.
Given how many people in our general community are immune compromised in some way, I thought it was awesome and caring.
Yep.
They had pre-made and blank pronoun ribbons to attach to your badge, and great pride-colored gamer ribbons too. Metatopia is very clear about being inclusive and safe. They mean it. What a lovely, welcoming, diverse community. All right, I'm going to tag back over to you.
I have to go next year. I am so sad I couldn't go this year. By luck, the first panel discussion I signed up for was how to present a game for playtesting, led by Melissa Lewis Gentry, MLG, and Kurt Covert of Smirk and Dagger Games. All the basics were rapidly presented, but the conversation quickly went to eliciting and working with feedback. It was amazing to hear. Most important thing is to be clear about what you want tested and then frame that well. My next event was in that same room with the game in the same genre, how to be a great playtester. Along with Kurt Covert, joined by Kat Miller of indie games Explosion, MLG was in the audience this time. The topic focused on what the designers really were looking for and how to help them get it. It was a masterclass in what I should do at Metatopia, and it was super helpful. The key here is to listen, accept the premise, take notes, and answer the question that is asked. Also, be good about what the designer asks you to not disclose. I had a gap in my schedule, and I ended up talking with Kat Miller and her husband, Michael, for quite a while. Oh, and Vincent Baker. I got to tell him that my absolute favorite PBTA game is Apocalypse World. I also let him know that I had several other games of theirs. He graciously signed my hardcover copy of Apocalypse World, and I started to find Meg, too. All 4 of us went to a panel and teaching GMing skills and some software that was being developed for it. This is where I got a really great taste for the rigor of the community. There were half a dozen well-known designers in the room and about a dozen others. Everyone with a social sciences degree or a stat background asked questions. Wow, that was kind and kind of brutal. For example, what is your sample size and how are you controlling for self-selection bias? And the presenters thanked everyone at the end and said, that's why we brought this here. And they were in alpha and not ready to go beyond that. Yeah, it's really like the amazing place to go for that. I rolled out of there, skipping lunch and shoving a protein bar in my cheek pouches. I have those, right? And right into a contract law panel led solo by Eric Wayland, a lawyer from California who did not give legal advice to several New York game designers in New Jersey.
That's funny.
Retained rights, work for hire, and licensing were discussed. In the end, get a pro to look it over was the core of the advice. Since a few bucks spent with everyone likes each other, save several zeros if that stops. Quick aside: the room we were in had been getting colder all morning. Halfway through the session, the room was mittens cold, and I loaned a layer to the one-woman staff of 9th level games. We all bonded over that. 9th level games is so good. They do the amazing card game All Women Are Werewolves. It's really cool, and they also do a great kids game called Horseshoe Academy, which is horses in a horse school. Is really
It's like
I
the
like
gimme
it.
game.
I like it so much. It's like magical horses, and it's very cool. They have it's very good. It's very good, and they're just really fantastic people. And whenever I have hey, I'm a baby game publisher company. I have a question. They're really nice. I'm like, hi, okay, this is who we do this with. I was like, okay, thank you. But yeah, oh man, All Women Are Werewolves is one of the most beautiful decks. It's so beautiful.
Nice.
My panels were all done by midday, and I'm glad I did them all. Very informative, useful, and round robin. Everyone was presenting their strengths and learning where they could be. Metatopia is a tight community, but very open and welcoming. Everyone is there to break games and help fix them. The first 2 panels I attended showed me what the standards were, but actually seeing it was serious. Oh, I get it moment. Also, just a note, a lot of the Metatopia panels are available in podcasts. They collect them. I think it's called the Game Designers Panel Cast. And you can go back. I'm in the middle of listening to some of them from 2020. So it's a whole big series. And some of them are amazing, just so helpful. Some of them are meh, okay. But yeah, they're available if you're interested. The second half of my day was actual playtesting. The sessions are short and intense, being 2 hours. The focus is on the specific things that are laid out in the beginning of the session. There's little over an hour of play and then half an hour of discussion and feedback. It sounds intense, and it is, but there's still room to role play, and it's a whole lot of fun. Or maybe that's just if you're a forever GM rules tinkerer like me. My first game was Rexploration by Jason Petrie. It's a rules expansion on his game After the War. The playtest was tightly focused. We tested the Rex scavenging system and helped Jason try some things. It was amazing to see him listen to our feedback and redesign on the fly. We really worked it over with the technical detail. He has a solid story-focused game with robust yet simple mechanics behind it. This expansion will be a must-have if you like the base game. Jason is a solid GM and very interesting designer with unearthly math skills. After the War has been out for a while, it is a very tight mechanical system and is built to encourage story development. I bought a copy of the first playtest.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's
right?
amazing. And they really do that. I was talking with my friend Stephanie, who does Threadbare. It's a PBTA game. And it was described to me at the last strategic con, okay, you have to go to Metatopia. You have to go and you have a list of what you want to test, and you have to have it's not like most cons, you're I'm going to run my game for you, and you're going to tell me what you think. It's you need to know what you want to test. You need to have pre-gens ready that are ready to to do that thing. Say, okay, we're starting here, do the thing. You don't do any, she's unless you're doing world building as the thing you're testing, don't mess with them. Don't let them make their characters. It's not about necessarily them playing. It's about you getting your hour of breaking something. And it's everyone goes in.
So valuable.
Yeah, it's amazing. Which is so sad I didn't go. But it's so cool to hear about a player, someone on the player side, because you listen to it and you're why would players want to go to this? It sounds it sounds amazing. It sounds like I should go just to play the first year, right? And not even worry about
go sit in panels, meet some of these people face to face.
Yeah.
Play. And that's the other thing too, is even playing in it, you're gonna see how people that have done this a bunch of times, how they set up their hour.
Yeah.
They're super valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. Tech.
From there, I jogged across the hotel to a private meeting room where Kevin Culp was presenting Loot the Kingdom. I got there and 4 people with Pink presenters badges were already seated. Kevin greeted me warmly and asked me, "Are you here to loot the kingdom?" I said, "Hell yes!" And he gestured me to a seat.
Nice.
There was friendly chatter while we waited for one person. The wait was short, and another designer joined us. I felt like a freshman sitting at the seniors table for a second, but then Kevin explained the game to us and handed out pre-gens. It was just a table full of gamers. We started with a collaborative world building, and then we're off and playing. The moment a swashbuckler landed in front of me, I could hear C.A. Dave's voice in my head saying, "It's a con! Drive it like you stole it!" I did that and leaned into the whole thing. It was a fantastic, though short, session. I had a great time with everyone. We got along amazingly well, especially when you add in that not everyone knew each other. Loot the Kingdom is in beta and will be kickstarted sometime in the spring if everything goes to plan. I can't tell you anything about the mechanics or specific details beyond it's amazing for a one-shot, but can support a story arc structure just fine. The rules are easy to learn and support a lot of customization of character. You're up and running fast. It's a tight design that supports and rewards story and roleplay. My last game of the day was In the Dark by David Brunel Brutman. It's a Blades in the Dark distillation. This was a real smoke test. David handed the game over to us along with a 4-page adventure frame to give us some material and coached us into the start. Only 3 of us had anything close to exposure to Blades in the Dark. Kevin Culp, who joined us as a player, had played a one-shot. The beautiful human to my right had read the book in detail, and I played Scum and Villainy once. None of the other 3 players had any idea about Blades in the Dark. One of us was going to have to GM this.
Oof.
The group of us discussed it quickly, and Kevin volunteered. He's a really good GM, and the test would have crashed on takeoff without him. We all had a great time stealing a painting during the loadout of a museum gala. We had a blast and flexed the rules hard. David is a graphics designer by trade, and his layout shows it. The goal of this design is really hard to achieve, but he has a workable system. It has been released on DriveThruRPG as a live beta, and if you know Blades well, you'll love it. I had a great time with the system, and even more so with the players. After drifting out of the game room, a bunch of people condensed into the hotel bar, and the con really started. We talked for a couple of hours in that pub free-for-all way. It was gold. I discovered that most of the other people with the blue player badges were either designers not presenting this year or were associated with some designer. I commented on that to a small group and was informed, "Oh, this is just your first trip to get the lay of the land.
Yeah.
You'll probably buy a pink badge next year." The community makes you want to create. I made a bunch of friends, swapped a lot of contact info and stories, and had an amazing single day and made it back to NYC and into my own bed just before 5 a.m. Happy and exhausted.
Oh.
Things that worked. Better gaming through office supplies, specifically index cards. Do what the presenter asks and take notes while you do it. Accept the premise with the enthusiasm of a puppy. Drive it like you stole it.
Yep.
Take snacks. Drink water. Things that did not work. Going for only one day. New Jersey Transit.
Oh.
That was just my experience, and I hope it was enlightening or at least entertaining. I'm definitely going back next year. I think I like this con thing. In solidarity, Muddy Boots from NYC. P.S. Congratulations to everyone who just got a new contract. Best wishes to everyone in arts and entertainment.
Woo!
P.P.S. Kimmy? Keytar? Keytar? Really? Like you need more nerd cred?
Yeah. seriously.
PPPS. The episodes are way too short, focused, and sober. Well, I want to say, Muddy Boots, you helped us on the too short
Yeah, you
tonight.
did.
Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
Yeah.
Very much.
So yeah, I can't. I just like.
Wow. New con on the list. That sounds incredible.
It's so it's like everyone talks about it. It's like, and their voice gets like, especially like designers, like their voice just gets like reverent. Oh yeah. And
It literally sounds to me like the first GDC, right? Which I've been around long enough to have gone to, where we would go in, there were small round tables. It was all people that were making the game, sitting around talking about them. Afterwards, we went to the bar. Then we just talked more about game design. I sat and played like Longest Day for like 5 hours at a bar table, like with other like very well-known game designers.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, this is nuts, right? Because I was just getting started. And it was amazing, right? And that's where you find what it sounds like from this wonderful description of Metatopia. It's that same kind of thing. There's people who you're like, oh my God, I played your game. It's incredible. Like, I love all your stuff. And they're like, oh, that's awesome. Hey, let's talk about games and stuff. And like, I want to play a thing with you.
Yeah.
Right? Like you find out that under under it all, like everybody just wants to play games.
Yeah,
That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Yeah, and Vincent and Marjorie Baker are amazing. They were so generous with their time and very just like down to earth. They were at Big Bad Con. If you're on the West Coast and you can't make it to Metatopia, Big Bad Con is kind of like that. It's like it's an amazing con and it has a lot of great things about it. It does not have the intense playtest culture that Metatopia has fostered. Like they have designed their con to be about that. Big Bad Con has is really great for indie designers. It is not like a tight feedback loop about gaming, but it's kind of in that same vein of vibe for cons. And they were both there, and they were just so great about it. And they were really like they were doing like a breakfast chat with a bunch of us at one point, which started off as like a handful of people, and pretty soon you look up and there's like 30 people standing around the table, like just listening to them talk about stuff. And their biggest thing was like just hang out with other designers, like talk to them, talk about like any game, talk about Monopoly with them, talk about anything with them, because that like having just that group that you're like hanging out and meeting with, like that will like spark creativity. Even if they just talk and they give you ideas that you will never actually use, knowing what you don't want to have also is very helpful in the creation process. Like just like little gems like that, you're like, oh yeah. Like, it's just, I don't know, it's just amazing. And just being around, like, an environment like that that has those safety things in place to try and break things, it's really stressful to play test at a con. Because you want to ensure that these people have a great time while you also want to know where your game fails.
Right. But that's the whole idea.
Yeah.
Metatopia is like, no, we're gonna just brutalize this thing for an hour.
Yeah. So it's like it takes that pressure off.
Right. And people are there to do that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Oh,
And they have that set up for it too. It's like a tight protocol for doing it, which is really, really helpful. Because there's been cons where I've been running Starscape in the last year or two, where I'm like, okay, I know it feels a little weird right now, but I want to try this thing, so someone's going to attack you. And it's like, so it's fine. And most of the time people are cool with it because they sign up, because I always mark it's a playtest before people sign up.
Right.
So no one's ever caught off guard. Like, what do you mean this isn't a completely polished, edited, perfect game? But I don't know, that's my rando voice.
You got to do a character like that, by the way.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
So good. It just talks like this. And I was so sad that I did not make it to Metatopia, and I really
now you got a thing on the list.
Yeah, next year.
You don't get to everything. We didn't LARP this year. We talked about that.
We did
in the summer. We're like, we're gonna LARP.
Yeah.
Like,
well, like we can't even make like multiple hour episodes. We're too tired and old now.
Yeah.
I'm like
I get to the end of the day, you get the kid to bed, and then it's like have dinner or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, I have a 9 p.m. meeting. Oh God.
Yeah.
Like I flamed out huge in a meeting this week because it was like we didn't start till 9 o'clock.
Oh.
I got like to 9:30 and I was like, I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
Like I just can't turn it on right now.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just like, I'm supposed to be leading this meeting and it's a creative design thing and I'm sorry. Like I'm just gonna
Yeah.
I can't do it. I can't do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit better now that we're not on Fridays. Fridays,
Sure.
I was so burned. Like,
Yeah.
I was just like, oh man, like getting my kid picked up and then like quick feeding them and like trying to, it's just like after a full day of like working with like many, many, many children. And I was just like, oh, so it's better now. I feel like, okay, I don't know, should you let loose and we'll try. We'll endeavor to have longer episodes, I suppose. No promises.
Yeah. And you know, it's one thing I found that like I need a mix.
Yeah.
Right. And if any show, no matter how good it is, goes beyond like a certain amount of time, I'm like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's an interesting side effect of work at home and like, you know, when I had big old long commutes, woo, I love it. Give me a 3-4 hour show to listen to. I'll knock that out, you know, in a couple days.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I look at something that's like 3 hours, 47 minutes. I'm like, I'm never gonna listen to that. You know.
Oh wow, yeah.
Like I tried with campaign 3. I started a Critical Role, and then I got it, but then I was like, I can't do 4-hour episodes, 4.5 hours. Doesn't matter. That table's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love them. I can't do it. You know.
Yeah.
But then like some of my favorite ones are like 1 and 2 hour.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can do that.
Yeah.
Like, I can fit that in. I can do that whenever. Like, that fits my life now.
Yeah.
Right?
See, I don't mind when things are chopped up. I know I've mentioned it before, but I'm like obsessed on like cults and like conspiracy theory, like podcasts about all that
Yeah.
stuff. One of my favorite is Paranoid Strain, which they do like half-hour to hour episodes, but they've been doing it for years now, and they'll do like 18 or 20 episodes all on a single topic.
Right.
Then they will release it in a large chunk.
Right.
And that's what I tend to listen to, like not when I can't.
Right. So you can binge it if you want.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, which I love because I'm
yeah.
such a binger. Like I like the idea of, and it's bothering me right now because I'm watching The Gilded Age because costume drama, of course I am. Like it's so annoying to wait till next week for a next episode. I don't like it.
Right. Like,
Don't like it. No.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I list so Forgotten Paths is one that I listen to, and it has my lawyer friend Noah is the GM on it, who also has done like a ton of legal work in the tabletop industry and video games too. And Noah's wonderful. He's a great GM, and yeah, they have hour episodes. And the main campaign they ran through was a 60 episode arc, which sounds super daunting. And I'm like, oh no, like you can knock that out in like, a couple 3 weeks of dedicated listening, or maybe a month or so. And it's really good. Like I learned a lot as a GM listening to how he like not railroading his players at all, but could focus on this is what I want to get to in the next 60 minutes. Right. And it was really interesting, right? Because to figure out how he did that. And I got to guest on one of the shows, and all he told like his players at the beginning of the episode I was in, he's like, at some point an offer is going to be made to you. I need you to take it. And they were like, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Because they knew that like that's how the story's going to progress.
Yeah.
And so when the thing that was obviously an offer got made, they're like, okay, yeah, let's go do it. And I was like, wow, that was great. Because it didn't feel railroady.
Yeah.
He just was like, hey, there's going to be a story. There's a guest on. A thing's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen or it's going to go. And where it went was not necessarily where he planned that it might go.
Yeah.
But he's like, all I need you to do is that, when this happens, just like, take the thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes, and it.
Yes, and it. And they're like, okay, great.
Yeah.
And it's a great story, like really fun to listen to.
Yeah.
And I think very rare in streamed shows, at least, maybe in just regular games around the table, it's an amnesia campaign. So the players start with blank character sheets.
That's cool.
And in the first episode, like one of them at some point realizes he's not human. And
That's
he's
cool.
like, what? Like, oh. And so it's really neat to see them figure all this
As they
stuff
go,
out
yeah.
as they go through. So
Yeah.
it's really neat.
That's awesome. Yeah, at some point I want to run skeletons. I love that system. I know we've talked about it before, where it's like you are the skeletons in a dungeon, and you like go sleep, and you're actually supposed to, according to the rules, like lay on the table. And then when the like adventurers come in, you fight them off because you're defending the dungeon.
Right.
And then you go back to sleep, and then like you figure out who you used to be through
That's
the
really
game.
cool.
It's really cool because you used to be an adventurer.
Sure.
And you
were
died.
somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love that concept of like working backwards.
Yeah.
That's also why I like lesson planning. It's called it's called backwards curriculum design, backwards lesson planning. You finish out where everything ends, like what you want them to know, and you go backwards and like how do we get there?
Right.
And so I tend to plan a lot of campaigns and stuff that way.
Right. Like where do I want it to end up?
Yeah.
Yeah. I tend to be very like story point. Like I want to get them here.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like I know where, like right now in my Eberron campaign, like I know where like the big payoff for like the meta arc 1 is. And the players kind of know what that's going to be too.
Yeah.
But there's definitely been points, right? And I think that's one of the things that actually is very non-mechanical about the way I run it is that I use the milestone.
Yeah.
I don't sit and grind numbers
Yeah.
and like, did they have enough combats? And well, I don't get XP for that. It's like, no, there's story arcs.
Yep.
And when we hit those, if you like get to a big story arc in like 3 sessions, ding, congratulations, you just leveled up. If it takes you 17, ding, then you
Okay,
leveled
yeah.
up, right? And I think the thing that's interesting is when it's driven by the story and by characters, like not mechanical progression, but them as characters. Like you care less about the mechanics, which is really fascinating in any kind of game. So
Yeah.
like I don't know, that's kind of why I like even as mechanical as I think about stuff, where it's like, yeah, you don't really necessarily. It's not about putting points into things.
Yeah.
It's not about getting a thing. It's like there's not really a power curve you get to. There's a story that's going to happen.
Yeah.
You might get a little better at doing stuff and things like that, right? Which is why I've wanted to play in a Masks campaign.
Yeah.
I've done one shots. So.
Well, and it's hard.
So Rose.
Yeah. Rose or Steffi
Or
also.
Steffi.
Yeah. That's actually segues perfectly into our final email. You read the... Okay, I'll
I don't care.
No,
Whatever
because you
want.
finished the last email. So,
All right.
Mailbag number 3. Greetings, Wonder Kimmy and the Rogues Gallery of Hosts. I like that. It is I, Steffi, from Scotland. Forever ago, in season 31, episode 7, I asked for advice on giving advice. The void of YouTube advice for Masks the Next Generation was pushing me to be the change I want on the internet. As you asked for a follow-up, I wanted to let you know that I got my act together and I started a channel.
Hey!
Time of writing, I have 3 videos up. Following your advice, I started with a short videos about the playbooks. Kimmy's advice was to use a gimmick for branding. My gimmick is my art. I am drawing a character for the playbook based on the merge of a DC and Marvel character. Ooh,
Neat.
I love that so much.
Look at that.
Is one of them going to be my favorite? I hope so. Inspired a little bit by my favorite. I adore my Trinity super teens that I have so far. Thank you to Kimmy, Rose, and Adam for their advice and enthusiasm. If you're up for free advertising, the URL is youtube.com @little-hill-comics. So if you go to YouTube, they use the @ symbol now. It's like they're trying to be like Twitter. I don't know. But so
Well,
if
I mean, whatever. They're not using it anymore.
Yeah. That's true. So you do @ and then little-hill-comics on YouTube. And that is Steffi from Scotland.
Yay!
Yay, Steffi! We're so excited!
Woo, woo, woo.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm so excited that you're doing that, and I'm so excited to share that and like get people to watch your stuff because Masks is awesome and running it well. Like a lot of people run, like it's a hard system to really not do well. So much of it is like embedded into the mechanics. Like if people are into it, like they have a great time and it's great. But like there's also like a little bit of like an art to it and knowing like, okay, this like breaking down all the playbooks and how they really work. Because that is how, as a GM, you can like really weave the drama between them. And like they do it by themselves anyway. But it helps if you can just like turn up the volume a little bit. And if you know the system well, it's just like, turn it up until you get called. And then they come and tell you to turn it down. Okay, turn it down. Until they leave and then you turn it back up again. So that is so awesome, Steffi. I'm very proud of you. That's fantastic. So, yeah. So, great segue there, Bill.
Yeah, no problem. It's almost like I read ahead.
Almost like you did, yeah. 7 videos are there as of today, according to chat. Yeah, Steffi wrote this a little while ago. But it's good. But yeah, I mean, Masks is a fantastic system and does what it means to do really, really well. I find it works best, at least for the games I've been in, like 5 to 7. I've GM'd like 12 session games of it, and it works that long. But a lot of PBTA burns out fast. You've got to have people who are really into it and not really caring about the leveling up so much.
Right.
Which is most people who play Masks. Most people who play Masks play it for the juicy drama part of it.
But that's great. Like not every game system can be, or whatever. But like this, like we're on session 140 and we've been playing for 12 years or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, we got in, we told an amazing story, 8 sessions, right? We left and you're like, oh my God, that to me, that's the difference to like British television.
Yeah.
And US television.
Yeah.
Right? And I love British television.
Yeah.
And you're there and you watch it and you're like, oh my God, that was the most intense roller coaster 8 episodes I've ever seen. I hope they do another 8. Right? But I'm not, it's not like, I'm on season 11. I'm on season 35 of CSI, right? Where it's like, oh, the same characters. I've actually followed them an entire actual career in the police. Like, how did that person not get promoted in 35 fucking years, right? You know? And so I love that. I love, that concept, like it's going to be this long.
Yeah.
And that's going to be this story.
Rose is mad at me. It's like, yeah, okay, yes, masks can work long form, but again, like if you're looking for people who, it depends on who you're playing with. Like people who are in it just for the drama and like drawing things out. Like the game has a specific number of advancements you can take and things like that. So, like if your players want to play for that long, they absolutely can. But a lot of players and a lot of play groups who aren't maybe as amazing as your play group, Rose. Which I'm biased because like you had Adam and Joey and a bunch of people in there who are amazing.
Yeah.
But like who aren't leaning into it that much start to kind of sometimes see things stagnate. Which is not to say it's a universal experience. No, I don't want to hurt the masks people out there. I love you. But
and a lot of times that's not the system.
Yeah.
That's just people are like,
right.
I kind of did my thing.
And most PBTA games are not designed to be like super, like you said, like super long. It's just not written in the rules. There are some that are designed differently. I've done a lot of thinking about this because it's one of the things I'm designing differently specifically for Starscape. Like I've added a ton of like things to extend the time of the campaign out. As you don't level in PBTA, but as you take advancements, it starts taking more experience to get in the next advancement. So it gets harder, and then there's like a bigger menu of different things you can choose from and things like that. Just because I want it to play longer for people who are expecting those advancements to be a part of a longer campaign like that. So I don't know, it's something.
Rose says it's too late. We've got a blood feud.
Yeah, man. I mean, that'd be a good fight, honestly.
It would be a hell of a
really
fight. We could sell some tickets to that shit.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Oh, man.
Well, pay-per-view streaming action right there.
Yeah, and then we'll just be all super bloody and like just go out for a drink afterwards. It'll be fucking amazing.
Right.
We'll just like the two like warriors like clinking their glasses like with their like arms and slings and a little bit of blood.
That's right.
Amazing. Yeah. All right. I think that is it for tonight. Woohoo! We did it.
We did it.
Season 33. We did it. We got here. Thank you for joining us for Season 33, Episode 1. Please support our amazing indie designer of the month, Kurt Potts. You can find them at kurtpotts.itch.io or lighthearted.games. Please, thank you to our amazing chat mod, James V, and to our amazing Patreons who keep us ad-free and independent. You can join their ranks at happyjacks.org/Patreon. We've started rolling out now regularly. D8 supporters and above get our monthly Nerding Out chats, which are just super random and really fun, actually. I'm really excited about them.
Right, if you missed like the long, drunken, rambling type thing, you got to get on the Patreon and get the Nerding Out.
Yeah, we just posted the one for November that was about like attending nerdy cons. And Dave has the best fucking stories.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you can sit and have some drinks with Dave and just get stories rolling, that's worth that in itself worth $4 a month.
Amazing. Like he punched Leonard Nimoy once by accident at Comic-Con. Like you just
so good.
You just like if anyone else was telling the story, I'd be like, that's fucking bullshit. But Dave is just like,
of course you did.
Yeah, it's like of course. Oh man, so it was so much fun. And then the one for October we did. Was a panel all about different costuming.
Nice.
And like we got a bunch of people commenting, like, even though I don't really care about costuming, it was very interesting to hear people who are super passionate about it just like talk about it like that. Because it's not like at an advice show or anything. We just
you just pick a topic and go.
And share fucking weird stories. It was so good. But it's been really, really fun. And we're doing one of those a month. And then we also are doing con wrap-up. Sorry, I'm still thinking about Dave's Comic-Con stories. Our campaign wrap-up episodes where we just talk about stuff. I am trying to wrangle The World Ends on Thursday to record theirs. It's going to happen eventually.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, no, it's scheduled now.
Okay, all right.
Schedule is a promise.
Schedule is a promise meant to be broken.
Again, that's that all my friends grind into dust all the time. I love it. It's fine. And yeah, it's just like fun stuff. And then every month we do, the D20 backers. I'm actually working on getting a campaign of Starscape. Speaking of playtesting, I'm using our wonderful Patreons as my playtesters for hopefully a Starscape campaign that's going to start up in the next week or two. So yay, thank you. But there's still spaces in that game. So if you suddenly want to become a D20 backer,
incentive.
yeah, there you go. So yeah, again, happyjacks.org/Patreon. But yeah, and Patreon helps us keep the lights on, keeps our mini fridge full. Even if we're not drinking as much as you'd like to, maybe if you supported us and we had more beer, we would be a little more ramply. I'm just kidding. Okay. I'm out of my white wine, which you know is like my bad thing. Anyway, yes. So we love you, Patreons. You keep us going. I really, really appreciate it. Yeah. So thank you to I already said thank you to James V, who's also awesome. And yeah. So my name is Kimmy.
My name is Bill.
Today we are ending with a very special song. So Racer Sunshine, Elspeth, who has been on shows before, is connected with Bill.
Yeah, we're married.
Yeah. Wrote a song for the Lighthearted game and recorded it and released it. It's actually on lighthearted.games, like the website, but we're going to play it right now for our outro. So thank you all so much. We'll see you next week. And yeah, write in emails.
Waiting for the night to fall. Waiting for the light to call. It's not easy to be young. It's not easy having fun when you're waiting. I'm in a mood. I'm in a mood. I'm in a mood. Colors washing over me. Changing everything I see. Neon flashing all around. Heartbeat is the only sound when I'm waiting. I'm in a mood. I'm in a mood. I'm in a mood. I'm light-hearted. Light-hearted. Is my future epic or is it tragic? Human fantasy. Can I heal the pain I feel with magic? What's my destiny? I need to know what's real. Suddenly it's all I feel. Suddenly I know I'm in a mood. Now our time has come.